lack of self-knowledge, self-love, stubbornness. BD0706 from December 10, 1938, taken from book number 15. Pay attention to the words that come to you today. The most bitter state of life is prepared by those people themselves who are in perpetual self-destruction and do not implore God's grace to help them, through which they would be freed from the pressure that burdens them. These people always see their own situation as so deplorable and become more and more entangled in gloomy feelings, and their whole being is ultimately just one of boundless bitterness, and that without any real cause. Their self-love is too strongly developed to overcome themselves, and they are much more likely to see the fulfillment of life in the fate of other people, and so a just judgment always remains something alien to these people. They reject all rational reasons and thus have a much more difficult life due to their own stubbornness, because goodwill would allow them to master life much more easily. Life itself is so instructive and provides so much guidance, if only it is utilized in the right way and people take refuge in working in love in all emotional distress. The balance is then created, as it were, and the heart becomes glad. And when one's own person is put aside, all heaviness falls away from the person of its own accord, and he finds the fulfillment of life in working for others. The purpose of life is only ever the maturing of oneself, a renunciation of the fulfillment of one's own desires, and a perpetual willingness to serve. The more a person can subordinate himself, the freer his spiritual state will become, and the more often he practices self-conquest, the stronger his will become, and this work on himself will bring about an ennoblement of the whole being. Only the well-being of his fellow human being will then ever be taken into consideration, and the painful state which torments the human being will be remedied. And this is brought about by the will to act. It is much easier to defeat the world than oneself. Man does not want to admit that he is the author of his condition. He always looks for the cause elsewhere than in himself, and that is his fault. Where self-knowledge is lacking, help is hard to come by. Because then where should the lever be applied? Those who only want to criticize others, but never themselves, will hardly recognize the basic evil. They will only ever find themselves pitiable and will not muster the will to put an end to their condition, which is nevertheless depressing. And so there is only one thing that has the right effect on such a mind: to lovingly draw its attention to its wrong attitude towards life, which man should master himself and not allow himself to be mastered by it, which is the case every time he suffers under the pressure of his mood and cannot find a way out. Where there is the will, there is also the deed, and only this frees man from all evil. Amen.